this right here was around the time where I went, oh, this is the last episode, isn't it? Because I realized what that goodbye was gonna mean for me emotionally, and I was like, oh no. Hi guys, it's Sarah. Welcome back to another video here on my channel. Hope you guys are doing well. We've made it to the end. This is not my last video on the Vampire Diaries, but this is my last video in the Vampire Diaries recap series. Wow. In case you ever needed any confirmation that I really am just a girl, or if you thought I was ever lying about not watching season 7 and 8, yeah, I forgot that this season ends on episode 16. I was about 10 minutes in and I went, wait a second. Is this the last episode? Yeah, it is. So, spoiler for any of you that didn't know, there's only one episode that we're talking about in this video. It will probably be short. I'm gonna try to hopefully make it at least 30 minutes. We're gonna talk about a lot of stuff. But yeah, this is our last episode. Season 8 ends on episode 16. So, my bad. What I should have done was like put the Kai episodes together and then 15 and 16 as their own thing. But also it's kind of nice that we just get the one finale episode and this is like the end of the videos. I'll put them all together for like the recap of season 8 that's coming soon. Thank you guys so much for all the support on this series. I have just really loved doing this and I'm super excited to jump into the originals. I am gonna do the originals first and then Legacies because people pointed out that it would get really confusing to have like baby Hope and then adult Hope, well, teenage Hope. So you're right, it would be. Don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already. I do have some fun videos planned for like in between this and starting the originals, and I'll talk about those at the end. But for now, let's get into the finale of season 8, the final episode of the Vampire Diaries. It's our last gossip session. Oh my god. So you remember how I told you that Bonnie passed out? I lied a little bit because I didn't want to leave you worrying. No, our girl is dead, okay? We opened with Stefan doing like frantic CPR on a very dead Bonnie Bennett, and he's like, the magic was too much for her. Excuse me? So she's dead on the ground. Caroline tries to give her blood. It's not working. She's not waking up. Go into like weird limbo land with Bonnie, and she is walking through a forest, and we see a sleeping beauty bed. Elena's on the bed. Elena wakes up. They get to talk and hug each other. Elena realizes though that this must mean that Bonnie is dead and she's devastated. And Bonnie, on the other hand, is like, it's okay. Now I get to be with Enzo. I'm ready. Girl, you are still basically a child. Don't talk like that. And then Enzo shows up and he's like, sorry, love, it's not your time. And he like yeets her back into her body so she wakes up on the floor with Stefan and Caroline saying that she saw Elena. I do love that she's the first one to see her. It's really nice. And for any of you that didn't like realize this, it is Nina. Like we're having scenes now with Nina. She's in this last episode. This was when I started going, wait a second. Isn't she only in the last episode? But I was still like, no, I'm only on episode 16. I hadn't put the pieces together yet. This is how few times I have watched season 7 and 8. I was genuinely confused. So Damon rushes over to the bell tower and stops Vicky from ringing the bell by throwing her out the window. Matt shows up and he's obviously upset about this, but then Vicky just comes running up the stairs. Damon snaps her neck and she wakes up again because they're not really alive. So she's just gonna keep coming back. So Damon leaves Matt in charge of trying to convince Vicky to not ring the bell and blow the town up. We get a super emotional Donovan sibling scene. Matt is like, girl, this is our town. Like, you can't blow it up. And Vicky is like, Matt, this is your town, okay? I've been stuck in hell and I don't want to go back there ever again, so I'm going to do whatever I have to do to free myself. So Matt, knowing that he's not going to be able to stop her, activates the town's evacuation plan by calling for yet another gas leak. The boys go home and they find Elena's coffin open. We hear, Damon? And Elena wanders out asking what's going on and where she is. They tell her that Bonnie's okay, and then Damon runs to her and hugs her, and immediately as he's hugging her, he's like, no, oh my God, and he drops her on the ground, and he's like, Catherine. I always love more than anything that Damon can tell, okay? I just think that that's so great. So Catherine is standing there and she goes, hello, brothers. She tells them Elena's body is off somewhere, hidden away. And once the town burns, Elena's gonna burn, and then they'll never see her again. She tells them that the whole thing with Cade was like her doing, and she had him wrapped around her finger from the second she got into hell. Love that for her. Basically, the only reason why Cade ever wanted them in the first place was because Catherine wanted them. It's a mess. It is a mess. Stefan stabs her with the bone knife that they made, and she passes out. We know that that sends her back to hell for a little bit, so she, like, her body just drops and she's gone, and then they rush off to go try to find Elena. Matt runs into Peter at the hospital and he's like, Dad, you gotta go. The bell's being rung. And Peter's like, but who's ringing the bell if I'm looking at you? And freaking Matt has to go, Vicky's a ghost evil lady and she's here ringing the bell to blow the town up. And Peter's like, oh, okay. Caroline and Rick are like frantically packing up the house. They gather a few like sentimental items, like some pictures and stuff, but Rick says everything else is replaceable. Now this is wild, okay? Caroline is like, I have to stay and save Elena. That's the reason why she wants to stay in this moment. She's like, I have to stay and help save Elena. And Rick is like, no, you're a mom, you have to come with me and go with the girls so that they don't grow up without a mother. You of all people should know what that's like. And Caroline fights back on this. I thought that was crazy, okay? After all the shit she's gone through with like, I'm their mother and I'm the one who gave birth to them. Now she's like, you know what? It's okay if I stay and risk my life. I have to help my friends. Okay. Stefan finds Elena's body near the furnace at the high school, okay? He picks her up and goes to leave, but the room's been spelled shut. Now I wonder who could have done that spell? Catherine wakes up and she runs into Damon in the woods. Yes, it was in fact Kai Parker. He put the spell on the furnace room that locked Elena inside, but like other people can come and go, but Elena's body can't be taken from that room. If only we hadn't locked him in a prison world. Damon tells her that she's just jealous of Elena and she's really wasting her time like doing this whole like final evil scheme to blow everybody up because really she's just after Elena. And it's just proving that she's jealous and petty. And she goes, I'm not jealous, you're jealous, okay? Because freaking Elena would pick Stefan over you. Just like me, because Stefan's the better man. And this feels so forced. I hate this conversation. I don't know if it's just like Nina and Ian on screen together after a while or what, but there's something about this conversation that makes me like, this is bad. It's not a very long scene though, but I don't like it. Damon also stabs her again just because she gets on his nerves and he's like, be quiet. So the gang has like a four-way phone call where Rick and Bonnie are in the car together and then Caroline and Stefan are standing in the hallway at the school trying to come to terms with the fact that Elena's gonna die because they can't get to Kai to get him to break the spell. And even if they could, there's not a world where he's gonna do that for them now, okay? That ship has sailed. Bonnie's too far away to try to break the spell, so they can't do that either. And they know that if Elena burns, Damon's gonna stay behind and burn with her. They get off the phone, all right? So Bonnie and Rick are in the car. They're still going. I think they're heading towards the armory right now. Caroline and Stefan are in the hallway and they start crying because they know that now they have to say goodbye. She needs to leave to go be with the girls. It's time, like time's running out. And Stefan needs to stay and say goodbye to Damon and attempt to get him to like change his mind and go home with them. They have a very emotional goodbye where like she is sobbing, he's also crying. He tells her she has to go though because he's not gonna be able to focus and do what he needs to do unless he knows that she's safe. He whispers, he's my brother. And she goes, family first. And then they kiss and she vampire runs away from him so she can't stop herself. This right here was around the time where I went, oh, this is the last episode, isn't it? Because I realized what that goodbye was gonna mean for me emotionally. And I was like, oh no. Rick, Bonnie, and the girls get to the armory. He apologizes for picking Caroline over Damon and Elena. He says, like, obviously he's worried about them, but, like, Caroline is the mother of his kids, and he's like, I have to have her come home. Like, I can't let her, like, risk her life for them. Bonnie is like, don't apologize to me. Okay, I understand. I am just now learning how to set those boundaries for myself, dude. He shows her the Hail Mary project that him and Dorian were working on to explode and destroy Cade's Hell World, but they said that they realized that in order to do that, because it was so magical and strong, they were gonna need like a surplus of magical energy. And Bonnie goes, like the kind of energy found in Hellfire? So Bonnie calls Stefan and explains everything to him. She says that the most important thing is that they have to make sure Catherine is in hell. So somebody has to stab her and hold her body in hell so that the Hellfire can take her out and destroy hell in the process. If Catherine is not in hell when they destroy it, she will not die. Bonnie says goodbye to the twins, and it is so cute. She tells them that they helped her realize that she had magic in her all along. She asks them for luck, and they each like rub one of her cheeks before Caroline comes running in. She's obviously like, anybody heard from Stefan? Is he on his way? And Bonnie is like, about that. And Rick goes, we actually need to leave. Girls, run to the car. And he starts like sending the girls outside. And he's like, Caroline, sweetie, we gotta go right now. No time to talk. We will talk in the car. So Bonnie and Caroline hug, and Bonnie is like, I love you. I'm gonna save the world. You need to go with Rick and your kids. Caroline is like, please don't do anything stupid. Bonnie Bennett, be careful. And Bonnie promises that she will be fine. Damon and Catherine are now down in the tunnels talking. Damon and Catherine talk down in the tunnels, and he's like, my girl Bonnie Bennett has a plan for your ass, and it's gonna end really badly for you. And Catherine is like, Bonnie is like hours away. Like, what are you talking about? She can't get here to stop me. Like, she's not even strong enough for that. And Damon is like, yeah, maybe if she like drove here, you know, the normal way, but these tunnels go direct to the armory, Miss Ma'am. It's only about 7 miles, okay? She can handle 7 miles. Bonnie's plan is to draw the Hellfire from the bell tower, like down through the tunnels to the armory, and then like ricochet it back. Unfortunately though, Damon thinks that he is the one that's gonna stay and sacrifice himself with Catherine. So he tells her that like, you and I are gonna die in the process because I'm gonna make sure your ass goes back to hell. Catherine says that he's bluffing and he wouldn't really do that. And then Stefan shows up and is like, yeah, we would. We can't stand you. Damon freaks out and he's like, get out, you delicate little human. What are you doing here? Catherine tries to sneak out in this moment of like brotherly fighting, and Damon stabs her to knock her out, so she's unconscious on the ground while they argue above her body. Damon says that Stefan has to go and he needs to tell Elena that he did this for her because he wanted her to have a good life and like save her friends and save the town. This is how Damon is gonna pay for all his past mistakes. Stefan is like, no, this is the thing I need to do. This is how I'm gonna make it up to Bonnie and Enzo. And Damon's like, would you stop blaming yourself for Enzo's death? Oh my God. They quite literally get into a redemption argument where they're like, I'm the bad brother. No, I'm the bad brother. No, me. I killed more people. That is what they spend this scene doing in the beginning. Damon's argument is basically like, if we're talking about kill count, I've definitely killed more than you, which I don't know if I believe, because we know the kind of stuff Stefan got up to in Monterey, all right? I think Stefan's killed more people, technically. And then Stefan's argument is like, I'm a human. In 60 years, I'll be dead. But if you get out, you're looking at an eternity with Elena. Damon's like, that eternity will mean nothing if I don't have you too. Stefan's like, do you think I want this? Like, I just got married, okay? My wife is out there waiting for me to come home to her. But he says this is what he's been fighting for all along. Damon is finally the man he always wanted him to be, and he wants him to get to live. So he's like, Damon, please let me do this for you. Damon says no. So Stefan goes, okay, then let me do this for me. Damon like holds him by the shoulder and goes, I love you, little brother. And Stefan says, I love you too. And then Damon goes, you're right though. You are human, which is why I can do this. And he starts compelling him. Stefan is begging him not to, but Damon is basically like, get out of these tunnels, Keep walking until my death ends the compulsion. Go. Oh, this is one of my favorite Damon lines though. He goes, they're crying, right? Like this is a very emotional moment and Catherine is just unconscious on the ground at their feet. But Damon goes, I'm the big brother. I'm sorry I wasn't better at it before now. And then Stefan leaves. Vicky is still ringing the bell, and now it's glowing red. Peter shows up to see her with Matt. She says that like he's a little late to be paternal, okay? She's not gonna stop ringing the bell. They're not gonna talk her out of it, but they say that's not why they came. Peter just wanted to see her one more time. They hug, and all three of them are crying. It's very emotional. Caroline and Rick are in the car racing away from the armory. She asks him to tell her what's going on, and he goes, Caroline, I don't know what to say. Stefan, and then his voice like tapers out, the music swells, and Caroline just starts sobbing in the passenger seat. Bonnie is lighting the candles in the armory. She calls out for Grams. She's also very emotional. She's not like crying, but she's like getting worked up about this because she's nervous. Then she starts a spell, and wouldn't you know it, wind starts whipping around the room. Our girl's magic is back. Matt and Peter watch from the town square as Vicky like waves goodbye to them at the top of the bell tower and then goes to ring the bell one more time. Bonnie starts chanting louder while the wind just like whips into like a little tornado in the armory with her. Caroline begs Rick to pull over and she gets out and like frantically makes a phone call. Stefan doesn't answer, so she leaves a message begging him to call her back because she needs to tell him something. She says that she understands and she loves him and she will love him forever. Yes, Rick is listening from inside the car. We see him like in the rearview mirror looking very heartbroken. Peter puts his hand on Matt's shoulder as Vicky rings the bell one more time and it just freaking explodes, taking Vicky with it. But Bonnie is still doing her spell, right? So the fire sort of shoots out from the bell tower and then like comes back into it and starts going down into the tunnel system. Catherine wakes up with Damon and he's like holding the knife. The fire starts like whipping through the tunnels around them and he goes, poof. Stefan has made it up above, right? And he passes an ambulance and then like freaks out and turns around and starts running back the other way. Bonnie is alone in the armory as the hellfire just like shoots up from the vaults and comes rushing into the room with her. She holds her hands out and stops it, but then her freaking nose starts bleeding. She's like glaring at the fire though, and she's like, I can do this. I can beat you. You can't have me. It's not my time. Enzo shows up beside her and he's like, now you're ready to live? She looks at him and she just goes, oh, hi. It's so cute. The way she says hi, it's so sweet. He tells her to keep fighting and she's like, I don't think I'm strong enough. I don't think I can do this on my own. He tells her she's strong enough to do anything she wants and she's not alone. So he's standing over here, right? And then all of a sudden somebody takes her hand on this side. It's Grams, y'all. It's freaking Grams. I cry every time. This whole scene for Bonnie is just like, it's so good. They restart the chant, okay? And Beatrice, the one that was like originally with the bell, shows up in Enzo's place. And then at her back, we see like every Bennett just standing with her chanting. They do the spell together and they send the fire racing back down the tunnels toward the bell. Bonnie's alone again in the armory. She whispers, I did it, and then passes out. Then we're at the high school, right? And we can see like pictures, like early season pictures of the cast of like the girls in their cheer uniforms and the boys on the football team. And we can hear these like overlaid lines from the early seasons. And then we see Elena's face reflected in the glass. She turns around and walks into Stefan. He admits that he doesn't know about Bonnie, but Damon was planning on sacrificing himself. Since Stefan is human now, he compelled him and he left. But he says that Damon didn't think it through all the way. He should have known that Stefan would never walk a day on Earth without Vervain. So we go back to Stefan outside of that ambulance, only this time we see that he like grabbed a syringe and took some of his own blood before he went back down into the tunnels and stabbed Damon with it, giving him the cure. Okay, now, for the person who asked this and we were all kind of like, I don't remember why that happened the way that it did. The cure only keeps you from not aging when it is in your body. Once the cure is out of your body, your like human years will catch up to you, okay? So Stefan gave Damon the cure knowing that he was gonna then die because the aging was gonna catch up to him. Make that sense? Elena goes, hold on, so Damon's okay? Stefan nods, and she goes, but you're, and he whispers, I did what I had to do. We then see Stefan holding Catherine to his chest with the knife like poised at her throat. The fire is racing through the tunnels towards them. She begged him to let her go one final time, and he whispers, burn in hell, before he stabs her in the heart. Then he looks over at Damon and goes, goodbye, brother, before the fire just sweeps them both away. Elena is, and I cannot stress this enough, heartbroken in the hallway talking to him about this. But Stefan is okay. He says that he saw the Damon from his childhood memories today, and that's the Damon that he wanted to live. And he wanted Elena to have the opportunity to get to know him, because that Damon is the better man, and he's the right man for Elena. He touches her face and he goes, it's so good to see you, Elena, one last time. And they hug in the hallway. Oh my God. As they're hugging, he goes, there's something I have to say, and then he whispers something into her ear, and she like tearfully is like, yes, okay, definitely, and they let go of each other. Then he slowly walks out through the double doors into the light. So Elena wasn't awake. She was in limbo land and he was visiting her. Similarly to how Bonnie was like visiting her and she was like on the bed. That's what was happening there. Cut to Stefan walking out into the light of the parking lot where Lexi is freaking waiting for him, like leaning against the hood of his car. Shut up. They get to hug. He spins her around. It's so cute. Then we go to Bonnie, like holding a candle and speaking over Elena. And we hear Elena's voice saying, dear diary, today will be different. Today I will smile and it will be genuine because today is the day I get to live again. We watch Elena wake up and Bonnie's just standing over her like, I did it, yes. She broke his spell because she is the better witch. I don't want any of y'all to forget it, okay? I love him and I know this, queen behavior. They hug and cry and then Elena is like, where is he? And Bonnie goes, he's with Caroline, saying goodbye. Elena tells us as we like cut over to the crypt and we see like red rose petals falling around the Salvatore graves. This life will be good and beautiful, but not without heartbreak. In death comes peace, but pain is the cost of living. Like love, it's how we know we're alive. We then see Damon and Caroline standing at Stefan's grave. They're like looking at his little nameplate. He asks her if she thinks peace really exists. And she says, yeah, absolutely. We're gonna see him again. Damon goes, okay, maybe you will, but like they're probably gonna open up hell again for me. And Caroline is like, I wouldn't be so sure. They're like holding hands and she leans into his shoulder and he holds her for a second and they just have this sweet moment. I love where their friendship went in the end, and the fact that they're united in their love for Stefan just like means everything to me. We haven't talked about it yet, but Hold On by Chord Overstreet is playing in this whole montage here at the end, all right? And it will make you cry. I don't care if you never cry at shows. The ending of this is wild. If there's one thing this show is good at, it's manipulating you with music and visuals at the same time. You're gonna cry. I don't care who you are. So Caroline walks outside and sees Elena and Bonnie. She's gonna hug her, but then Damon comes out behind her and she's like, oh, let me get out of the way. And she moves and Damon and Elena see each other. They smile at each other and then they just run into each other's arms and start kissing right there in front of the crypt. It's everything. Then we cut to Elena sitting with Caroline and Bonnie on the bench outside the crypt. She says that she needs to tell Caroline what Stefan whispered to her before he died, or like as he was dying, I guess. He said, tell Caroline I heard her, and I will love her forever too. Caroline goes, he got my message, and they all cry. Ah, it's so good. We then watch them like lay special objects outside the crypt for Stefan, similarly to how they did for Bonnie. So Caroline gives him like a little Mystic Falls keychain snow globe thing, and then Damon gives his daylight ring, and Elena leaves her necklace. We cut to a Matt diary entry because I know you guys were all so concerned about what Mr. Donovan was up to. He says they survived and the town is finally safe. He's the sheriff now, and he's thinking about running for mayor. Hella controversial choice here, okay? But Tyler and Vicky are like together behind him, watching him, being like, we're at peace and happy for you, Matt, we love you. I feel like they should have been like on either side of him and maybe like looked at each other and smiled and then walked off in separate directions. I just don't feel like they're having fun being ghosts together. That's not how I thought we left things with them. Bonnie is like packing up frantically in her bedroom, and she tells us in her diary entry that she is gonna keep her promise to Enzo and she's gonna live her life to the fullest, enjoying every minute of it. So she's like going to Europe. Our girl's getting out. I'm so proud of her. Leave. As she's packing, she's like, okay, do I have everything? What am I forgetting? And from the doorway, Enzo is like, your passport in the nightstand, implying that he's gonna be like guardian angeling her and like showing her things forever. When she gets the passport out of the nightstand, she also sees his blood necklace and she picks it up and is holding it. And for a moment, he's able to like gently touch her face, and she can definitely like feel him, even though she can't literally see him. She's like aware of his presence, which is just so sweet. We then go to Rick and the girls, and he tells us that Caroline and him have been given what Damon believes was Stefan's last wish. And we see Rick opening up a sign that says Salvatore Boarding School for the young and gifted. The girls run up to hug him, and we freaking see Joe like a few feet away watching them, and he is like hugging the girls, and then he feels Joe and he looks up, but she's not there because they can't see the ghosts anymore, but the ghosts are still in town watching out for them. Oh my God. Caroline tells us that opening the school was hard work, but don't worry, they brought in a team of experts, including our boy Dorian and Jeremy Gilbert. This part, oh my God, this is the part that destroys me. Caroline's like taking a stack of letters from somebody and she drops them on the floor, and when she bends down to pick them up, Liz touches her arm and Caroline feels Liz and she looks, and obviously she can't see her, but we can see her, and she's smiling at her, and Caroline has a moment and then she picks up the letters and sits down at her desk. Oh my God, why did they do that to me? Of all the ones that one was uncalled for. Anyway, one of the letters is from none other than Klaus Michelson, and I'm gonna read it to you. Okay, I read you the Damon to Bonnie letter. I'm gonna read you the Klaus to Caroline letter. This is what it says. Dearest Caroline, I have often imagined the paths your life might take, but your chosen future is more noble than I ever fathomed. Little tiny detail about that first sentence that I noticed because I had to pause the screen and like transcribe it. He wrote, I have oft imagined, and then he like shoved the E and the N in between oft and imagined. It's so cute. He's an old man, girl, and he's in love with you. Please accept this contribution to your virtuous cause. I do look forward to thanking you in person someday. ... However long it takes. Yours, Klaus. When Rick tells us about this letter, he's like, but that's the start of another story. I want to know right now, Rick. Tell me everything you know. Elena gives us the final update, saying that when she finished med school, she came back to Mystic Falls because it felt right. It's where she wanted to grow old, and she did. She says, and that's my life. Weird, messy, complicated, sad, wonderful, amazing, and above all, epic. And she says that she owes it all to Stefan because he came into her life and reminded her to live. She's writing in the graveyard in front of the crypt. And a crow comes and like startles her. Then she sees Damon and he's waiting for her, and they hold hands and walk back to town together. Then we hear her voiceover saying, even after our long and happy life together, Damon is still worried he'll never see Stefan again or find peace. We then see them walking down her street, holding hands, wearing wedding rings this time, and suddenly Damon fades away and she's like not holding his hand anymore, and she's like, oh, where did he go? She's back at her old house. It's completely back to normal, looking beautiful, and her parents and Aunt Jenna are waiting for her on the porch. They all start hugging, and then the door opens and Uncle John is there too. So they all start hugging. She tells us that she knows Damon is wrong. Because that's the promise of peace. That one day, after a long life, we find each other again. We go to Stefan, standing at the fireplace in the Salvatore house, holding the glass of bourbon. Suddenly, he turns to the door. He opens it to find Damon waiting there for him. And he goes, Damon. And Damon says, hello, brother. And they hug. We get a gorgeous final shot of the boys hugging in the doorway to the house, backlit by like the bright sunlight behind them, as we fade to white light. That's the end. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you enjoyed, don't forget to like and comment down below. How do you feel? Oh my God, we made it to the end. Thank you guys so much for being here for this like amazing first journey. I know it took me a long time, okay? We've been here a year now working on these videos. Okay, so the videos that I need a little bit of help on, if you guys are interested in being a part of those with me, down below, let me know your favorite ships. And these can be any pairings you like, okay? Whether they're canon or like we thought they were gonna be canon and they didn't work out, or crack ships, okay? I'm down for anything. Just drop them down below so I can add them to my list. I'm not gonna do an episode ranking. I'm sorry, there's too many. There are so many episodes of this show. I just can't, okay? I'm gonna do a breakdown where I tell you like my favorite seasons, and then from those seasons, we're gonna talk about like my least favorite and favorite episodes. So just like sprinkle yours down below if you feel like talking about it to jog my memory, because I'm planning on just like going back through everything and just looking at my notes and stuff and talking about them from there. But I think that video is gonna be still very long because I have a lot of opinions on certain seasons. Right now, I'm gonna be filming my character ranking video, which I'm very excited about. That one will already be filmed by the time this one goes up, but we'll play a game in those comments too, in case I forget anybody, so don't worry. We'll talk about that later in next week, probably. As always, thank you guys so much for watching. Don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll see you so soon. Have a good one. Bye!